The New York Knicks are 15-10 on the season, and defense is still a glaring issue for this team. We have a fun show for you tonight, joined by LV Live. So let's talk some New York Knicks. All right. LV, what's going on, man? Knicks 15-10 on the season. Tough loss against the Atlanta Hawks. I don't like that one, bro. I don't like that one.
Yeah, tough loss, man. Tough loss. It's kind of like a way to really reel you back in and make you realize, okay, you're not as good as you thought you were, right? So, tough one. Hopefully we could definitely get it back Sunday against Orlando. But yeah, definitely a tough pill to swallow with that loss.
And the funny thing is, last week when we were on here, everything was, sunshine and roses. Talking good about this team. Defense was okay. It wasn't great. Offense was clicking. And then fast forward to today, they've now lost 2 out of the last 3 games, one against the Pistons, one against the Atlanta Hawks. And even in that Toronto Raptors game, it got dicey there at the end. But nice, gritty win for the team. You want to see the close wins keep piling up for this team, and they won. So, but yeah, versus the Hawks, it's just like I've been saying this all year. When they don't hit shots, they are not going to win simply because they don't play good enough defense, and that was shown versus the Atlanta Hawks. And it's now 20% of the season. This is. I don't want to say this is who they are. I know we can talk about how different ways how they can change and whatnot, but it's a good enough sample size where you're kind of questioning yourself, like what is going on here?
Listen, absolutely, man. I thought last night was a tale of two halves, right? Knicks dominated, and look at the swing, right? So we were up by 7 in the first half, and we lost by 8, right? So look at the swing right there. That's pretty much 15-point swing. So
Yeah.
it was a totally different team. And if you look at the game and you break it down all the way, right? You go to the stats, you can kind of flip the stats up and down. They look like the same team stats goes. We shot 40% from the field. They shot 40% from the field. They shot 20% from 3. We shot 20% from 3. They were terrible from the free throw line, shooting 60% from the free throw line. I believe we were like 56 or 60 also. But where we lost the game was the rebounding. Offensive rebound at that. And then if you take a look even deeper, all quarters were pretty good except for that third. 34-18, they beat us in that third quarter.
Yeah.
And that was the ball game. So now you start to break down the team. And of course, the fourth quarter, you started alley-oop. So it was like they just was, adding sprinkling on top pretty much. But the ball game was over after the third quarter because you pretty much saw the fight out of the Knicks pretty much just seep out of the whole team. But it was a lot to really look at, man, because we got destroyed on the boards. 22 offensive rebounds we gave up. And that was something that you would have never saw last year. And so it's an identity shift that I think has happened with this team that I think, believe it or not, with the beautiful things that have been going on offensively, a lot of people haven't really been paying attention to just the shift in identity of this team as opposed to last year's team.
Beautifully said. It's an identity shift for this team. And look, we were that dominant offensive rebounding team, that those extra demoralizing possessions that, pretty much kill opponents. You're like, damn, you grabbed another rebound. Damn, this guy just grabbed another rebound. Isaiah Hartenstein was a big part of that. And yeah, the Hawks last night came into your building. I think they almost doubled your offensive rebounding, if not mistaken. I think they had 8 or 9 more than you. And, I have some stats here. Over their last 3 games, they're allowing 32% of the time. The New York Knicks are allowing an offensive rebound. That is 30th in the NBA. Opponents' points in the paint, 27th the New York Knicks are in the NBA. And opponent defensive rebounds, the Knicks are 28th in the NBA over their last 3 games. And I like that you said identity shift because, it's kind of been, look, we're 5 games over 500. We're still, in fairly good shape. The sky isn't falling. But there are glaring issues with this team if we want to strive to be a championship team. And right now, it's like we know that they're a great offensive team. That's a fact. Like, we know that. Defense, we've kind of just been like, okay, if Precious can come back and shore us up a little bit, things will look better. If, I don't know, when Mitchell Robinson can come back, I know he will help some, but got some Mitchell Robinson news that we'll share later on in the pod. But it's kind of just been their crisis. And it starts with, obviously, we're going to talk about Mikal because offensively, he's been playing really well. But defensively, you're still seeing some things. And it's not just Mikal. I'm not pointing the finger at him. It's a lot of people. But I like that you said it's an identity thing because right now I think the Knicks are searching for an identity on the defensive end. And it seems like faster-paced teams have found something. And they're killing them. They're killing them.
Yeah, man. It is an identity shift because if you look at last year, right, what we mostly got most of our points from offensive rebounds. Right?
Yeah.
We were number one in the league at that last year. Now we're at the lower bottom of the league in offensive rebounding. So
Yep.
when you get better offensively, something has to give. Something's got to give. And when you make a big change like what we did by losing, our horses in the middle, which is Mitch and iHeart, that changes everything. It truly, truly does. It's not so much the wings. We got bigger wings and just a good enough defensive wings as we did last year, if not a little bit better, because we're having OG Anunoby for a full season.
Yeah.
But with that interior presence, Towns doesn't give you that. He just doesn't. Hence why in Minnesota they made the deal to get Gobert. They identified who Towns is. He's a stretch big. So a lot of times he's outside the box. So he's not going to really be in the paint to get those offensive rebounds, similar to what Mitch did and especially what iHeart did. He's not going to really do that. So now you're putting pressure on OG Anunoby that's not really known for being a big rebounder. Same thing for Bridges. Josh Hart, yes, but what is Josh Hart? 6'5", 6'6"? So now all those things change the second, point opportunities that we had last year. That's what made us so great and would demoralize teams because of the way we were crashing the glass. So we were the bullies last year. That's not the case anymore. So now with that change, we went from top of league in offense to now we're pretty much middle of the road, or maybe at times on certain nights above the road offensively. Defensively. Because right now, believe it or not, guys, defensively, we're ranked, I checked it today, number 16 in the league.
I saw
so that's a lot better than what we were before, right?
Yeah, I did see that.
But that's really like, if you think about it, that's like middle of the road. That's average and above average. Really totally different than what we were last year when we were ranked number 10 in the league. So we look like a totally different defensive team, but you gave up a lot, man. And I really gave up a lot because iHeart left, but of course not Mitch not being here. But if you want to get a guy like Towns that's offensively explosive the way he is, he's not the defensive beast that iHeart was, man. That's just the fact of it.
Yeah, and I think more so like I saw those stats as well, where we've moved from like 23 defensively to like 15 for 16th. And I think that has to do with, the Orlando game, the Charlotte game, the blowout win, the Charlotte game again in Charlotte where we allowed 98 points, and the New Orleans game where we allowed 85 points. So that kind of balanced the numbers out. But yeah, LV, it's look, I think right now the glaring, like to me, defense, I'm hoping that it will get better. Obviously, the Wingstop has to show up. You're getting one half of Wingstop showing up every single night, every single possession. And sometimes you even see OG Anunoby frustrated sometimes because it just can't be him. You're just asking him to guard 1 through 5, and that's tough on a play. He's exerting a lot of energy. We'll go through the minutes that I came across, and he's just doing a lot. And, you're asking Mikal Bridges to, be a, Dyson Daniels in Atlanta, upcoming good defender who can shut down an opponent's star like he sort of did with Brunson. I'm not saying that Brunson can't overcome that. We'll talk about Brunson in a bit, but yeah, look, talk about the rebounding. So the Knicks are 24th in the NBA at allowing offensive rebounds at 9 per game. But a stat I found interesting is that they are first in the NBA in team opponent total rebounds per game, opponent team total rebounds per game. So in these losses, they're giving up a lot of rebounds, but in the wins, they're shooting the lights out and they're not giving the opponent the opportunity to grab the rebound. But when they're missing, they are just, it's killing them. Like it's absolutely killing them right now. And always
Right,
going through a little funk.
and that was the beauty of having iHeart last year.
Yeah.
Think of how much better this team would be if we had iHeart and Towns out there. Right? So think of that lineup, what that would be. You would have Towns playing the 4, you would have iHeart playing the 5. So all those misses and all iHeart would clean all that up. Right? And he was a lot more durable than Mitch. So he would play the whole season. This team would look totally different. We're 15 and 10 right now. If we had iHeart on this team, and if you want to throw in Dante Cool, we probably would be 25 and 5. I give us that. 5 more wins.
Okay.
I give it 5 more wins because of what iHeart can bring to the table, what he does. So those little things, you can't kind of like dismiss those little nuances, because that's what OG Anunoby did. He does those little nuanced things that don't really go on stat sheets. The same thing Josh Hart does, right? But the problem is now you're asking guys to do things that they're not comfortable doing. The reality is this: Brunson is not a strong defensive player, and neither is Towns. That's just the truth. And those are our top guns. So now you're asking for 3 other guys to really lock it in. Bridges, believe it or not, I think he's like right now an average or above average defender on certain nights. He's not the elite lockdown wing that he used to be. And the reason why is those 2-3 seasons in Brooklyn, man, he got the ball in his hand. He learned how to be an offensive guy. And so that takes away. So now it's like, okay, so now I got to switch it on and be a lockdown guy like I was in Phoenix. That most of these guys can't do that. They can't make that change. They've been so offensive for these last 3-4 seasons, 2-3 seasons that he was in Brooklyn. I don't want to say he's forgotten how to do that, but defense is an attitude, right? You got to have a want to do that. And if he's focusing on scoring and doing that, he's not going to have the same attitude and the same energy or a dog in him to really lock it in defensively. The only elite guys who are like on the top of Mount Rushmore, you talking about the Jordan and Kobe's, those guys were able to do it on both ends, right? Those are the elite guys. Bridges is not that. And so that's what I'm saying. We were expecting to get the Phoenix Bridges, and we got the Brooklyn one. And that's why I think we're kind of meeting like we're kind of at a road's end here with him, because he's not really living up to what he was in Phoenix. But he hasn't been that guy for the last 2-3 seasons.
I've been trying to like figure out why. I was even looking at old Phoenix Suns lineups, and they had Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Bridges, and DeAndre Ayton, and I forgot someone else mixed in there. So I'm like, do you consider Ayton like a strong defender in the paint? I don't know. Maybe that will help Mikal.
Yeah. He was solid. He was solid. Yeah. Defense. He's like better than Cat.
Yeah.
Better than Cat. Cat is really an offensive guy, man. But iHeart changed a lot of things for us last year, man. You got to understand, when Mitch went down, we didn't skip a beat. We actually got better. We got better with iHeart. That's why he made so much money out there. That's why OKC snatched him up and said, we'll pay you anything. Remember, his contract was crazy. You usually get your big money at the end of your contract. They gave him his money up front.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's how bad they wanted him, because there was some talks that he wanted to come back to New York. You know what I mean? He wanted to kind of finish what we started here. He kind of wanted to come back. But they pretty much gave him something that he just couldn't avoid, and taking that big contract that he got from those guys. And that changed everything for us. That's why I stated earlier, the identity. So now it's like taking a shift, and I think everybody's still trying to adjust to it. I even think Thibs is trying to adjust to it. And I think that's the biggest thing, man. We're not the same team we were last year. So we're trying to win differently than how we won last year. But us as fans, we fell in love with that team last year. So that's what we're expecting.
Yeah.
But it's not the same at all. And so we got to kind of change our lenses and how we feel and see this team.
It's an adjustment. Like, this Knicks team is an elite offensive team. They're number 2 now in the NBA, and it's pretty much I believe this is who they are until Mitchell Robinson can give us something until they make Mitchell Robinson. And are there areas where they can improve in? Yes. The rebounding issue, I had that concern coming into the season. You lose Randall, you lose Isaiah Hartenstein. OJ Anunoby really isn't a strong rebounder for his position. Can he do it? Yes, but he does everything else. But that's, if you want to point out a weakness, that's his weakness, rebounding the basketball. So you lose Randall, who was a great rebounder for us. Isaiah Hartenstein, I came into the season like the Knicks are going to take a step back rebounding the ball. And they've upgraded their offense. So like like we've been saying, when they shoot lights out, there's no rebounds to get. But when they miss, it's a whole different story. And that's why you see when we lose, it looks ugly when we lose. And you really don't like that. And then look, maybe it's just an adjustment. Maybe we just have to adjust because there's going to be games where we're going to, like this season, where we're going to just absolutely obliterate teams and shoot the lights out, score 120, 130. That's going to be easy for us. And it's an adjustment, though. It's an adjustment. Appreciate every single one of you guys in here. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. LV Live also has a YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to him. It is in the description. LV is going to be joining us every single week. Happy to do that and just chop it up talking Knicks. Hit some of these comments, LV. Hit some of these comments. Just Knicks says salute. Salute, LV. Just Knicks. Flo says Randall was a good rebounder too. Beanman boy, we not matching defensive energy with these teams. No aggression. And that's what made last night's game against the Hawks like piss me off even more, because you had that little rascal Trae Young coming to your arena. And ESPN was hyping the villain role for Trae Young. And I'm like, all right, that was 3 years ago, ESPN. We're past that. We're over it. But I guess we're not, man, because the same shenanigans after the game, rolling the dice in front of JB, right in front of Josh Hart, presses that you were staring at him. Nobody did nothing. I wanted someone to lay him out. But, hey, they took the high road. Jalen Brunson said they win. They can do whatever they want. Cool. So that's what kind of got me upset. What'd you think about that?
Hey man, I agree with JB, man. That's why you win games.
Yeah.
Right? To do that. So if you don't want him to do that, then you got to beat him. Yeah. Right? Like the great Ric Flair said, in order to beat a man, you got to beat the man. That's it. And I think that's what the Knicks had a hard time doing, and he's got every right to do that. So now, to me, hopefully, that lights a fire in their belly the next time they see these guys. Because it's been 2 times this year that they've beaten these guys, and the Knicks have been up on them in games.
Yeah.
We were up by 7 yesterday, and they were up by 5 the last time we played them. So we had an opportunity to win the game. We just couldn't close. But so, to me, that's where, as much as I didn't like it, to me, I love it. Because now I'm saying to myself, I hope you guys are seeing this. Yeah. This guy's disrespecting you in the court. So now, are we going to play better next time and make him eat his words? So, I do lean into what Brunson said, but hopefully it's to light a fire underneath these guys to kind of come out a lot better in the second half.
January 20th is the next time we play the Atlanta Hawks in Madison Square Garden. So that should be a fun one. And yeah, look, they won. They can do whatever they want. Obviously, it was an NBA Cup game. The Knicks they have an extra game versus Orlando. You can look at that like, hey, that's a good thing because they're without Wagner, and we just smoked them last week. But it's no game is a given. Like it's not a given, man. So you got to pick up the extra game versus Orlando, and then you got 2 versus then you got Minnesota, then New Orleans. We'll go through the schedule a little bit, but what a nostalgic says. Nostalgic Nick, what's going on? The problem is this inept coach. This inept coach, Tom Thibodeau, Nostalgic Nick says. He's pissed off at Tom Thibodeau. Let's talk about the bench, LV.
Yeah, that's to me, that's outside of rebounding, to me, that's the second biggest problem.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the teams who are pretty much at the top of the list or who are contenders, I mean, they got legit guys coming off the bench, legit scorers. You got to understand, DeAndre Hunter last night had 24. He was a starter for them last year.
Yeah.
But because of the emergence of Ricochet, the guy they drafted, of course, Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, He's coming off the bench. He lit the Knicks up and had scored 24. Okongwu, he had 12 last night and 11 boards. He put up iHeart numbers last year coming off the bench, what he did last night. Then Bojanovic, he can knock it down. He had 7. So their bench had 43 points that contributed to the win last night. So that's big. And also, too, they have size. DeAndre Hunter is about 6'8". Okongwu is about 6'9", 6'10". Bogdanovic, I believe he's about 6'5", 6'6". So that's size coming off the bench. We saw the same issue when we were dealing with Dallas. We saw the same issue. They were running out a bunch of size on us, right? So we saw the same issue with, when we were dealing with just the other day against Toronto. They were running a lot of size at us. You saw the same thing when we played Orlando. So the problem is we're running out guys that are 6'2", 6'1", and Preston 2 at 6'8". This league is still all about size, man. And so that to me is where we got to make some decisions here. I'm not thinking so much of a trade because I don't know what we can give up, but really this offseason, who we can snatch up in free agency because we got to get bigger coming off the bench. If we got to make a move for Mitch because, he's injury prone, then maybe we can go out and get another big man. But we need size and athleticism coming off the bench to be able to kind of help what our first team is, because our first team is explosive. We already know that offensively. Yeah. But who can come in with size and athleticism to steady the ship to where we're not just getting destroyed by other teams' second units?
You want to hear some bad numbers? So the New York Knicks are dead last in the NBA in bench scoring. Only 20.8 points per game. Now, Celtics are 26 at 29 points per game, but that's still 9 more points. Thunder are 22nd at 32 points per game. That's 12 more points. The number one bench scoring team in the NBA is the Memphis Grizzlies at 48 points per game. I don't know how they're up that high, but yeah. And what you're seeing is
that's a lot of points.
It's a lot.
Like
and I think the Knicks are last at 20.8 points per game, and I think the Lakers are just ahead of them at 24 points per game. So it's a problem, especially when Deuce and Cam, like you said, 2'6" undersized guys coming in. And when Tom Thibodeau is not really expanding the rotations, it's an 8-man rotation. It's not good. It's not good. And Deuce has, for the most part, would you say Deuce has been consistent? Obviously, he's dealing with that knee injury, but last game it was off. And when you're asking Deuce McBride to run the offense, you're seeing a different version of Deuce McBride, because that's not really his game. He's more of like, that off-ball guard scorer, and that's why they put Campaign in that role. But yeah, me personally, LV, look, I've been saying, why not give the rookie Daddy A some run? In the limited time he's played, I know it's very limited, and I'm not overreacting, and I know how we fall in love with the rookies, but he's looked okay. Like, he's gonna make mistakes. But with this coach, Tom Thibodeau, you're seeing that trust isn't there with Daddy A. So what do you think? How do you think they can overcome that? Because I'll bring up the minutes right now. But
no, you're absolutely right. I mentioned that last night on my show, about how Thibs is, if we're not going to make a deal, which I don't think we are, because we don't have the assets or the money, and I think they want to see what exactly Mitch is.
Yeah.
There's not really things to move off of to kind of get some wings in here to kind of help out, right? So with that said, you got to look at what you have. Let's not forget, we also have Okike, right? We got him from the Magic, right? He's another big wing. And I heard he's down there putting up numbers in the G League. He's about 6'8", right? So he's an athletic wing that you can possibly use. Like you said, you have Dottie A. Dottie A is about 6'9", right? So he's still growing. He might even grow to be 6'10". So he's another athletic wing. So to your point, when you see what you're dealing with, you got to say to yourself, okay, we got to try to get some help here, because the problem is, and I'm glad you have the minutes up there, you're having OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges play with that second unit. So they're not even getting a chance to get a break. So by the time they sit, he's mixing and matching rosters and trying to figure out who can come in for who. Josh Hart comes in for this guy. That's not going to work in an 82-game season. And this is where Thibs got to kind of change up things, because you have wings. You have them. You just got to play them and let them play through their mistakes. But you're going to have these guys come up for air sometime, because eventually this is going to catch up to you. So the misconception is that the Knicks don't have anybody. but they do. You just got to give them a chance. And if they're getting 10 to 12 minutes a night, you got to let them get a chance. And I'm not speaking of you give them a chance against Boston. But let's see how they look against the Wizards. Let's see
Yeah.
how they look against Charlotte. Let's test it out to see how these guys play and then give them some more minutes against a little better competition. Like, ease it in. But if you're just saying no and you're just too stubborn to make that change, we're going to see these numbers rise and fast as far as these minutes go for these guys.
And up here, I have the graphic. This is from Tommy Beer. NBA leaders in total minutes played over the last 5 weeks. Mikal Bridges is number 1. OG Anunoby is number 2. Josh Hart is number 3. Jalen Brunson is number 5. And if you guys want the averages, minutes per game, Mikal Bridges is number 1 at 38.8 minutes per game. OG Anunoby number 2 at 37.3. Josh Hart at number 4 at 37.3. So you're asking a lot from these guys. You're asking a lot from the starters. And hey, can that contribute to the non-box outs, to the effort plays? You know, if guys are out there long periods of time, they're not going to, give you that high effort on every single possession. I mean, you need fresh legs. Can that contribute to the poor defense at times? I don't know. I'm not a professional athlete, but I play pickup ball. When I'm gassed out there, it's like my effort. I'm not gonna play 100%, And I'm not an NBA player, newsflash. But yeah, I mean these guys' minutes are playing heavy minutes, and I don't want to be the minute police, but you gotta extend it to 9 man. And even if that's Huck Porty with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 4 and playing Huck Porty at the 5, or just mix and match in there. But this coach has shown you that, I mean, what have we seen that he's going to change it? Honestly, until Mitchell Robinson comes back, that's when I think you go to 9 man. That's when I think he goes to 9 man. Tom Thibodeau, I'm speaking of. But look, Daddy A's a rookie. Okiki, you really think he's going to play Okiki? I don't. Jacob Toppin just had a great game in the G League, but he's just a guy. So your options are pretty much the rook. And right now he's just too reliant on the starters. And it's not like a bad thing, LV, because we're 15-10. But, obviously we're searching for answers. But I just want to see him get someone else in there, man. I do.
Hey, listen, man. I'm not even knocking what you're saying because, like I said it on my show last night. And the reason why I say that is because you got to look for some size, man. You got to look for some size in the length. Those are things you just can't coach. If a guy is 6'9", he's 6'9". If he's athletic and long, let's see what he can do. Now, once again, I'm not saying throw him out there against Boston. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But against the lesser competition teams, let it be a tester to see what these guys could do. Because you're going to need them. And so you got to say to yourself, knock on wood, someone goes down, what do? You just say, okay, we're going to play 4 guys now? You can't do that, Thibs. So you got to be able to kind of see exactly, we know we can't make a move. We know we can't make a deal to get someone like, Cam Whitmore from who I like from Houston, or Jonathan Isaacs from Orlando, right? We can't make a move to do that, right? So, okay, so why not, to your point, we use a guy like Dadier. I thought a couple times Dadier went in there. I thought he played good. I didn't think he played terrible the way you're like, okay, we got to get him off the court. I didn't think that at all. So my thing is that we need the size, we need the athleticism to match up with a lot of these young athletic teams. Let's see what it is, Thibs. And let's try to kind of get some of these minutes down with some of these guys. I'm not saying don't play Deuce or don't pay campaign. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is maybe get an extra guy in there or 2, or maybe make an adjustment, like you stated. Let's see what Precious looks like at the 4 next to Towns. Put OG Anunoby in there. Have those guys crash the boards. Or if you want Towns at the 4, put Akaporti in there, like you stated, at the 5. Let's see what that looks like. Adjust. Let's not sit and just don't do anything. You know what I mean? Because it's obvious. Now, granted, we should have won last night. I'm going to touch on that in a minute, what I think really happened last night. But I think you have to adjust in an 82-game season. You can't be so stuck and so stubborn. And I'm telling you right now, guys, if Thibs doesn't fix this or kind of get this team playing well within another year or two, and we're still kind of like getting getting out in the second round and all that other stuff,
Uh-oh.
Tibbs
Uh-oh.
Tibbs Tibbs is going to be gone, man. Because
Uh-oh.
guys, think about it. This is probably Tibbs' best team since that Chicago team
Yeah.
that he had with Derrick Rose. This is probably his best team. So Leon has given him everything that he wants to really have a really great team here that Tibbs needs. So now it falls on him to be able to adjust to whatever the season gives you. And sometimes you never know what that could be, man. So you got to, make those decisions as a coach.
LV putting Tom Thibodeau on a hot seat. But no, I agree. Look, man, I totally agree. But they tried Towns with Precious last game, but Towns was in foul trouble. That's what Thibs said after the game. But do you think if you were to put Huck Porty out there with Karl Anthony Towns, would that improve our interior? Bigger body out there? Because we seen Jericho, I know he's, for the majority part of this season, he hasn't played well, but he's a big body and, they need that at times. So do you think playing Huck Porty alongside Towns would fix a little bit of our
I think it possibly could, but we don't know. We got to see it, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. So hence, once again, when you do testers like this, see, I played in high school and college. Yeah. When you do testers like this, you do it against lesser opposition because it's like you want to see what it looks like. You're not going to just make a decision out there if you're playing against Dallas, one of the top teams in the league. You're not going to do that then. So you got to do that against lesser teams to see what you have. Mm-hmm. Hence why the preseason is important. But now we're not in preseason. I get it. But what I'm saying is against lesser competition, why not throw that combination out there just to get a look? Let me see what it looks like. They have no practice time. They haven't been practicing. Everyone has stated that. They don't really practice on their days off because Tibbs gives them that
to rest. A lot of minutes.
Right. Yeah. Because all that stuff that Tibbs about them practicing, that stuff doesn't happen anymore. They don't even practice anymore. So the time they really have time to really get some camaraderie is during the game or maybe right before the game. So my thing is, why not just see what it is that you have to throw it out there? Because Porty, I think, has shown that he could play really well in that Baja, right, in the middle of that paint. Akaporty right now, he's kind of out too. He's got an ankle injury. So that kind of takes that away. But I'm speaking of when he comes back. So you can try that out and see. But we're not saying this is a definite thing. We're saying try something. You know what I mean? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If it's not working, it's not working. So let's try something to see what it looks like. We're not saying it could, if we can hurt things offensively, right? Because I think that's what Tibbs is worried about. Let's see how it helps us on a rebounding tip and then see where we go from there. Let's, that's all we're saying as fans. Let's try something.
Yeah. And I know the stubbornness of Tibbs would be like, look, we're 5 games over 500. Our net rating is pretty good. Like you said, we jumped in defense and, why would I change? But I mean, I don't want to say the thing that has kind of been bugging this team over these last couple of years, but, eventually no one stays healthy over the full 82 games. And, you can kind of prevent that from forgiving. Look, he tried it versus, the thing is he tried it versus, I go back to a few weeks ago versus Brooklyn. Daddier played 12 minutes. Huck Porty played 30 minutes. Payne, 19 minutes. Kolek, 7 minutes. This is when Deuce McBride was out. So he went 9-man against the Nets. Like you said, not against these dominant teams, but, against the Hornets or, even the Hawks last game. I know they're not like a dominant team, but you can try different things and hopefully something can shake out of that. But like you said, you're never going to know unless Tom Thibodeau changes something up. And that is the $1 million question. And if you were a betting man, do you think he goes that route? I mean, I don't. To be honest with you, I mean,
not at all. But that here's the thing, though, man. But that's what's going to put him on the hot seat is being stubborn.
Yeah.
Right. Because once again, like I said, man, in the words of the great Al Davis, just win, baby. That's it. Just win.
Yeah.
And if you're not winning and we're losing in the second round with this team that they've given him.
Uh-oh. Hit some of these comments. Patrick Thomas says Thibs need to change his lineup because it is not working. What's going on, Patrick? Appreciate you in here. Pulsar says, I think Thibs coaches from a place of fear. That's deep. But I've said this about Thibs, right? He coaches differently in the first half than the second half of basketball games. In the first half, he's more relaxed. Like, he's like, all right, JB, out the game. Like we said last week, they're protecting their investment. Cat and JB have kind of been the two Knicks that have played less. But second half, he gets tight. He gets tight, man. He gets antsy. And he goes with the guys that he trusts. And he doesn't want to deviate from, his mind. What he thinks is going to get the Knicks in the game or win that game. And look, we're 15-10, like with some winnable games coming up here. So sky isn't falling, right? We're still playing well. But losers of 2 out of the last 3 games, especially that Hawks game, it's like, oh, all right, hold on now. It's a trend here. Like you said, it's a trend. So we're trying to break that trend because you don't want to carry these habits into the playoffs. You don't. Because on any given night, yeah, we could shoot you out the gym, man. We could drop 130 on your head, and there's nothing you can do. We'll give up 120, 125, but we could score 130, 140, and there's nothing you can do. But when we don't, we lose. So that's that thing. That's the thing. Because LV, it's like, look, we don't want to sound like, we're down on this team. And I know that it pretty much, I know if you guys just joining us or that have been tuning in, they're still playing well at the end of the day with some winnable games coming up here. But they've said it in the post games. And like I said, with Trae Young rolling the dice, and it just left a bad taste in our mouths. And we're just like, all right, come on, guys. What can we do to fix this? And Tom Thibodeau, I don't know. I don't know if he does it, but I don't know. I got a poll in the YouTube chat. What are you most concerned about? Defense, offensive rebounding, bench depth, or rotations? 60% of the vote is going towards defense, LV. 30 votes so far. Make sure you guys vote on that poll. What are you most concerned about if you were to vote? Defense, offensive rebounding, bench depth, or the rotations?
Well, I think it may sound a little to the left. I think the defense has slowly gotten better. My main issue is the rebounding.
Yeah.
Right. That it looked really bad last night. And Cat is, doing his thing. He was 19 and 19 last night. 19 boards he had. Right.
He's
so
getting everything.
He's getting everything. He's gobbling them up, but he has no help. Like, Josh Hart can't get 15 rebounds every night. Right. So yes, he's a hustle rebound, but that's not what he's there to do. So when you lose the glass game, most of the time you lose the game. And when you're getting out rebounded, because that's second chance points, you're not allowed to get second chance points either.
Yeah.
So now that changes the whole dynamic of the game. Now you're in a scramble drill, which we happened a lot last night. How many loose balls they get to, offensive rebounds, then you have us scrambling around. And so that has us looking really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that's why I lean more into that, because the rebounding is what made us the team we were last year. And that's why we won a lot of games. We won a lot of games because we dominated on the glass. And so it's switched now to where we're not that anymore, and other teams are that. And that's why we pretty much got edged out last night, because how many second chance points did they have? Right? So we stopped them defensively initially. Yeah. Look at the percentage of shots like I showed you. They shot 40% and 20% from 3. But if they're getting those offensive rebounds, what does it matter how good you play defense if they're missing it? If you let them get the rebound.
22 offensive rebounds last night. So
there you go, man. That's huge.
Yeah, it's not good. And Okongwu, who is known for his rebounding, got 5 offensive rebounds alone. Dyson Daniels with 5. All right, LV. Jalen Brunson had a bad game last night. This is look, for the majority, he's been playing awesome this year, LV. I mean, his assist rate is up. Assist to turnover rate is pretty good. But this is now 2 games versus Hawks team where, he's looked bad. And what you're seeing is this Knicks team kind of feed off of their leader, feed off of JB. And if he's not going to give you an A-plus effort or even an A effort, I think last night, if I was to grade him, I don't know, D-.
Yeah.
It was bad. So
yeah.
It was a bad game for
Yeah,
Mr. Atlanta.
it was really bad. And the problem that I have with that is that you can't be one of the best players in the league, finish top 5 in MVP voting. The Knicks have pretty much let it be known that this is your team. That's why they didn't use all those picks to go out and get someone like Giannis or something like that. They used those picks to go get your boy because they're building this team around you. You're getting 25 and 8. That's got to be every night. That can't be a pick at night or whatever. And what I saw last night, Dyson Daniels, he's a great defender. I'm not taking anything away from him. I thought he played really well. But we've seen Brunson dominate a lot of great defenders.
Oh yeah.
You know, you look at Lou Dort out there in OKC, he's a defensive monster. Brunson made him look like a clown.
Yeah.
And so we've
Makes
seen
a lot of
Brunson.
people look like clowns.
Right. We've seen Brunson do this.
Yeah.
So in that third quarter last night, when you see your team is kind of struggling offensively, because we were, and that's what really kind of blew the game open.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you as the captain, you as the guy, because it still is your team, even with Towns here, you got to grab the bull by the horns and say, okay, we need a bucket. Okay, everybody square, give me a screen, let me do me. Because I got to kind of steady the ship here because we're trying to win the game. When I seen him come off of screens, he was looking pass first every single time. Every single time. I did not see him at all. And I'm not saying Dyson Daniels is not a good defender. I have to stress this because a lot of people are like, oh, you're saying that. No. What I'm saying is you got to somewhat be aggressive. And I didn't see any aggressiveness from him at all. He was very passive last night. And when your team is struggling, that's where you got to put the captain hat on and say, okay, let me go back to Brunson of last year to kind of pull us out of this. Because the elite players do that. That's what they do. And if the league considers you an elite player, that's what we expect from you in moments like that. Not for you to just not show up. And so that was the frustration I had because there were times in the game where I saw Charlotte, when I saw Atlanta kind of getting the best of us, I said, okay, Brunson, now it's your time. Now it's your time to really kind of start doing what you usually do, right? The Brunson burner, right? Now it's time. And he wasn't doing that. He was passing, looking to pass. I said, yo, what's going on with you tonight, Brunson? And that's the ball game. Forget his name. I'm sorry. We rolled the dice, man. I can't even think of his name. I don't want to say
Trae Young.
Trae Young
that's
had 21.
What made, yeah.
Trae Young had 21 last night and made a couple of big shots.
Timely shots. He didn't even have a good game. Like, I thought he had an okay game.
Not at all. But he made timely buckets.
Yeah.
Brunson only had 14 last night. That can't happen, man. That cannot happen. If he scored his average, which is 24, 25 points a game, that's 11 points on top of what he had. The Knicks win that game, 111 to 108. So it's a math game. So it's easy. But he didn't give us anything.
Yeah.
And I thought Cat was exceptional last night. I thought he was exceptional.
Cat has been amazing.
He's been amazing, man. So, but if one of your top guns is doing what he's doing and the other guy is just being passive, we're never going to win. We're not going to win a lot of games this year, guys.
Tim in the chat says Brunson is overthinking out there. He got to get out of his head and get back to the Brunson of last year. See, I don't know, Tim. Because he's, for the majority part of the season, Brunson, what would you say, LV? He's playing awesome.
Yeah.
This year, right?
I thought he's playing. It was just last night, but I thought he's been playing great.
He's been awesome for this Knicks team. His assist numbers are up, and if he had 8 assists last night, 11 versus Toronto, 10 versus Detroit, so his assist numbers have been up, and he's kind of been taking a back seat in terms of scoring the rock. But when obviously we know when he has to score, he will. And he's still picking his spots. He's still getting to his areas. I know, like you said, Dyson Daniels is a great defender, good defender, but that doesn't phase Jalen Brunson. Like, you could put anyone on him. And if you consider, they consider him to be the superstar, top 10 player in the NBA, it shouldn't matter. And it doesn't matter. But I think tonight was magnified because, you had Trae Young dancing all over the place, and JB just had a bad game on a big stage. And we're not used to that from JB because come playoff time, he's the guy.
Right, that's right.
He's the guy leading us. And I've seen this a lot, that I've seen a lot of people want JB to be more of a scorer this year, but I'm like, he's averaging 24 and a half points a game. Do you want that to go up to what did he average last year? 28? But he can't this year because he has Cat.
Right.
So he has to be more of a passer, a facilitator, a floor general.
Right.
But what we've seen these last couple of games versus this Hawks team is, I go back to that game in Atlanta. He had a bad game. I mean, I think last night topped it.
Right.
So
to the naysayers that may not agree with us, Ant, they're gonna say, well, then that means Dyson Daniels is locking them up. That's what that means. That's what that looks like. But to me, from what I've known of the guy, no one can lock him up. He does what he wants out there. So that was the frustration with last night for me.
Yeah.
Because just once again, like I said, I played in high school and college. And I played in many tournaments. So if I know a guy got the best of me last game, I'm looking on the schedule for the next time I'm gonna play against him.
Oh yeah.
I want to see that guy again because
that's
the
frustrating thing, yeah.
Right. I want to kill all the noise of he got the best of me. And that's what I thought I was going to see last night, and I didn't see it. And that's why my frustration was through the roof with Brunson. Because I said, just me being a fan, now's the time for you to dominate this kid because they're saying he can lock you up. Don't show that. Right? And so when he kind of took a back seat and was kind of passive last night, that's what kind of had me kind of upset last night, pretty much.
Ron B says, let the offense run through Cat for a while. I even like when Brunson wasn't having it, he didn't have it yesterday or versus the Hawks. I was like, look, Bridges had a good first quarter and he was like iced out for a majority part of the game. And that's when, fourth quarter came around and he tried to get it going, but he was he just didn't have it. Like he was, not in rhythm. And he had such a good first quarter, and you're like, okay, Brunson doesn't have it. Let the offense run through Mikal Bridges. So I was wondering if the Knicks can adjust on the fly, in-game adjustments like that. Your star player doesn't have it, but hey, it is what it is. Paris Dagger with a super chat. Appreciate you, Powers, for the super chat, man. Much love. Hope all is well. Brunson is hurt. He's mediocre without foot speed, Paris Dagger says. LV, what do you got to say? He says Brunson is hurt.
Why? I didn't know he was hurt, but if he is hurt, then
He sprained his ankle a couple of the games ago, and remember, versus Toronto, he stepped on the fan's foot.
What was it? Toronto, right?
Yeah. So that could be a reason.
There you go. If that's the reason, okay, cool. But I was always taught that if you're out there, man, I don't want to hear nothing about injury. I mean, if you're playing, right, no one's gonna want to hear.
That's Brunson's
mentality. Like no one wants to hear oh, I only played bad because I was hurt. I think I'm like, yo, come on, man. Like that's weak. Like if you're out there, you're out there. Now, if you can't play because you're hurt, then sit down. But no excuses, man. Like don't do that. If you're out there, then give your all, man. But don't do that because that's not fair to the other team either. You know what I mean? Because they want your best, so be your best when you're out there.
Exactly. Yuri says the defense is a glaring issue right now. If it doesn't get fixed, we are suffering without Isaiah Hartenstein. Got to make it work. Shamit is coming back soon. The bench is coming back. Got some good news on Landry Shamit. He is practicing with the G League team, I think. So maybe that's the knife man, LV.
Yeah, I guess that's who Thibs is waiting for, is Shamit. And I don't know, man. Once again, right? Are we holding down a fort until Shamit and Mitch comes back? Come on, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, I'm not trying. These guys are NBA players. I'm not saying that. But what I mean is that doesn't mean, Ant, that you just say, okay, we're not going to give Dottie a shot.
Exactly.
Because we're waiting for Shamit and we're waiting for Mitch. So we're not going to play Akaporte because we're waiting for Mitch. Okay, so we're just going to lose games because we don't want to play guys and tire these guys out. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? You got to play the guys that you have and try to steal wins that you can with the people that you have. And then when Mitch comes around, because eventually, they said January, now they're saying late January, early February. I think it's going to really be after All-Star break. And then the same thing with Shamit, right? So there's no guarantee when these guys are coming back,
Yeah, so it's these are positive updates, but I'll see it when they're on the court, man. I mean, I remember the Precious Achua news. It was like 2 to 4 week. We'll update you, and then it took 6 to 8 week. Happy that he's out there now, but yeah. Tim says LV. That's why I said what I said after last night's game. He got to get out of his head and bring it. He's our captain. He was killing bigs. He was killing big wings, guarding him. Yeah. Yeah, LV.
Yeah. Listen, Tim, you're right, man. You're right. You're right on point with that, man. I truly do. You got to get out of your head and, just destroy the guys you got. But I don't know what happened to him last night, man. I don't know what was going on. But my point is that if you're the guy on the team and the team is looking at you, you got to come prepared, ready to play, whether you're hurt or not. You can't use that as an excuse or whatever. Yeah. Just come ready to play.
So Brunson this year is averaging 24.7 points per game, and he is up a full assist. He's almost at 8 assists per game. So last year, you needed more scoring out of him. He was averaging 28.7 points per game with 6.7 assists. 40% from three last year, 42% from three this year. So LV, he's 4 points less than last year, but to me, he's, facilitating the offense better, and it could be that ankle. But like you said, if you're out there, no excuses. No excuses. It's New York. No excuses. But look, this nitpicking. He had a bad game. He can come out in Orlando. The guys have a few days off here, right? Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, they got 3 days off, man.
Yeah. So
that's a long time for the NBA.
So we can go through the schedule right now really quick. 3 days off, and then you play Orlando, right? Mm-hmm. So, you got Orlando. What am I doing here? All right, Knicks schedule. Orlando at Minnesota, at New Orleans, versus Toronto, versus San Antonio. LV, the next 5 games. What are you saying? Give me a record.
Next 5 games. New Orleans is a dumpster fire. Minnesota's tricky because I think they've been playing well as of late. Orlando is really banged up. Toronto, I think Scotty Barnes is going to be out for a while, so we have them at home. San Antonio. So I think we can possibly go these next 4 or 5 games. I think we should go 4-1, I would say. Minnesota's going to be tough at Minnesota.
That's going to be an emotional game. Cat coming back home. Not home, but back to Minnesota. And Randall, Dante, they're going to want to ball out against us. But that's going to be a tough game. But look, like we said last week, LV, schedule is lightening up here. But, hey, you just lost to Detroit and the Atlanta Hawks in Madison Square Garden. So you just got to keep compiling these wins. Keep taking care of business. Keep – I just want to see a game, LV, where they don't shoot the ball well, but they play solid defense and they do everything else to win that game. I just want to see them put together a game like that. Like they shoot 26% from 3, but they still win, right?
Yeah. So right. And those are the games that are really going to show your pedigree, right? Yeah. So how do you win games? Is it strictly just if you outscore the team, or if you're having a tough night, how do you go about winning a game? And I thought that's what I was going to see last night, but that didn't happen, right? So that was the frustrating part. But, you got to learn how to win games. That's what the great teams know how to do. Even when they stink, they still find a way to win, and that's what's going to do it.
Got the Mitchell Robinson news that we talked about. Mitchell Robinson is unlikely to be cleared to play until at least late January. At least late January. And look, Mitch has been
it's fine print. Got to read the key word there is least. He's not coming back off the All-Star break. I'm telling you guys, that's what's going to happen here.
And he's been trolling. He's been, I'm hoping he returns before then, but just get healthy. Obviously, he's going to be a big part of what we do. But hey, trades happen. Not saying he'll get traded, but it's the nature of the business, man. But he's out until at least January. That is from Shams, and obviously we got the Landry Shamet news that he is practicing with the team, not with the team, with the G League team. So hopefully he can get back in the rotation, because prior to the preseason he was with that bench unit. He
Yeah.
was playing with Deuce, with Campaign, with Precious, and like you said, that does. But still, Tom Thibodeau, that doesn't give you the inclination to not play someone because you're waiting on something
Right.
on the horizon.
Right.
That's
I mean,
not.
Sherman looked good. I mean, he looked good. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like
Nah,
he
he did.
didn't look good at all. Like he looked good, right? But what type of Sherman are we getting back? He's coming off for a shoulder surgery, right? I mean, shoulder injury, excuse me. So he's coming back from that. What is he going to look like? What is Mitch going to look like when he comes back? These guys aren't going to come back in midseason form. So once again, they got to rev up to kind of get used to the speed of the game and how things are going to be played at that time. So it's going to take them a while to do that. So that's going to be an adjustment period as well.
For sure, for sure. Hit some of these comments before we head up on out of here. Daddy and Huck Porty deserve a look. Thibs is wearing down our starters. People fail to realize it's James Dolan Thibs should be worried about. That's from Tim. Some strong words from Tim. Look. I want it to be a 9-man rotation. Right now it's 8, but yeah, I mean, guys, you know how Tom Thibodeau is. I was going crazy LV when it was 7, pretty much last month.
Yeah.
I was going nuts, man. I was like,
Yeah,
you can't be doing this, man.
yeah, you and I both. I remember that. Yeah.
It's the beginning of November, man. You can't be doing this. And then somebody got to him.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
but yeah, I mean, look, some things to work on. Clearly, offensive rebounding is an issue. Defense has to improve. A little bit small off the bench. The bench scoring when your 2 guards don't score, it's obviously an issue. You're last in the NBA in bench scoring, but you're seeing some positives offensively from Mikal. You're seeing Karl-Anthony Towns continue to play like an MVP candidate, right? Jalen Brunson, even though he had a bad game versus Atlanta, he's still playing like an all-star. OG Anunoby is kind of struggling with his shot now, but he's literally doing everything on the defensive end, so that can contribute to him shooting the ball poorly. Josh Hart having a career year offensively. So it's like all of these things you would think like, hey, everything's good, and everything is good, right? I mean, it's not like this. But all we're saying is there's some things to work on, Ovi. That's it.
Right. Absolutely, guys. We're 15-10. If we go 4-1 in these next couple of games, the Knicks could be 19-11. Right. So I would take that any day of the week, right? Especially with the injuries that we have and how bad we've looked defensively at times. Right. So that's what we're looking at. And, possibility of, going 19-11 these next 5 games right before we get to the New Year's, man. I think we got to be happy with that.
We do. So like we said, few days off here, got to get healthy. 15-10 on the season. NBA Cup. Sucks that you couldn't make it to Vegas, but it's like with that LV, it's like the teams that lose actually come out on top because you play the lesser opponent and you have more days off, less travel, less wear and tear. So I guess it's a win-win. Like I'm not. Were you upset that they didn't make it to Vegas? It would have been cool, but
I really wasn't. I'm not really a big NBA Cup guy, so I wasn't. If we would have lost to anybody else, I would have been okay. But we can't lose to that guy, man. We can't lose to that guy. That's the one guy you can't, because they're not going to let you live it down. They're out there playing dice, playing CeeLo right there in the middle of Madison Square Garden. Like that can't happen. Man.
That was. I know. Look, I know. You were like, look, you let it slide, but come on, man. I needed somebody to lay him out.
But that's what I mean, like having that in your belly, like, yo, the next time I see those guys, like that's what it's got to be. Because to me, I said let it happen, and I'm glad that it happened because hopefully it makes them angry, man, to when they come out next time they beat these guys. Technically, guys, we should have beat these guys twice.
On your logo.
Yeah, listen, man. Look, all right, don't let them do that. Don't let them do that. And hopefully it gives them some fire because I felt like the second half they had no fire.
Yeah.
So to me, all right, you know what? Eat crow, watch what he does. He's skipping all through the garden, laughing and joking, doing that other stuff. Last time we played him, he told the New York, MSG South in Atlanta, told everybody to go home, get out of here, all the Knicks fans. So this guy is really rubbing it in your face, man. So when do you say, okay, enough's enough, and you blow them out the gym? Like, come on.
I get it. I get it, but I would have just loved to see Josh Hart. Somebody go up to him, man. Just lay him out, man. He's like they list him at 6 foot. He's probably what, like 5'9", 5'10" out there.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
you lost, man. Take it on the chin. Take it on the chin. Learn from it. Next time, do it to them. All right, here's some of these last comments before we head up on out of here. Anything else you want to touch on, LV?
Nah, man. Great show as always, man. Great show as always.
Knicks 100 GM, our chance to get rid of Thibs was this offseason. Oh, they're already coming for Thibs, man. They're coming for him.
That's my man right there, man. Knicks 100 GM. He's listen, man. He tried to get Thibs out of here. He wants Sims starting. You know what I'm saying? He's
Oh man. All right, guys. Look, guys. Let's relax, calm down. Sky isn't falling. Things are still looking up in Knick land. Just a little bit of a concern that we spoke about. Look, appreciate every single one of you that joined us here tonight. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. LV also has a YouTube channel. It's in the description. Subscribe to him as well. Does great content over there. LV is going to be joining every week on the Knicks Nation podcast. Excited to, chop it up every week, man. This is always fun. Appreciate you, as always, hopping on, talking Knicks. Hopefully next week, things are rolling. Things are rolling again.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. I'm Anthony from Knicks Nation. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.